Chaos has just been released, and the tier list has already been updated. And with the last new character of this version's done being released, it's time to take a look at the meta right now to see who are the strongest characters, what are the characters that are falling off, and let's try and get a good grasp on what's to come. Before we start though, do understand this, at least with Neverness to Everness, the endgame is not that hard where you can't really beat it at all, even with like quote-unquote low-rank characters here in this tier list. If you invest in them well enough and you play them well enough, you should be able to clear everything that you need to, and there's not really exactly a hyper difficult end game that you have to clear at all. I actually feel like NTE is really casual and there are more things to do than just combat, right? Obviously, there's a lot of different things to do. But well, it's worth taking a look at the tier list anyway to just see what are the characters worth building and whatnot, right? If you're a fan of character building and the combat at all, I personally am, so let's just jump right into it. We're gonna start with tier 0 and let's just focus on the new character immediately. We see the new character Chaos being in tier 0. I'll straight up say like his damage output, solid, very strong. However though, he certainly has some issues, specifically with his targeting and animations. Depending on what boss he's fighting, the boss might be evading some of his hits, some of his attacks, especially with full crime. That should be a really hard-hitting move, and sometimes there's just gonna be some boss that the moment Chaos starts like disappearing with a slash and he has to land it for the hyper damage, the boss sometimes would just like fly around or evade it at times. That's just how it is with Chaos's animation, I would say. So with close range characters, being not able to hit like a boss is like a normal thing, especially with bosses that like move around a lot. However though, this could be avoided by just understanding the boss's pattern and movements and make sure you land your hits. Does that make Chaos like insanely bad? Absolutely not, but of course Chaos does need some paying attention to play him well. I would say not exactly to the level of like Lacrimosa, right? Lacrimosa, you genuinely, if you're using the long range version of Lacrimosa, I don't think it's easy to mess up with Lacrimosa in that regard. You legit just spam, you land your hits. It's a long range one, you shoot a lot of times, you shoot constantly. Even if the boss like moves around a little bit, you still target them. With Chaos though, you do need to be a bit more careful with that, but if you're able to be careful and make sure you land all your hits as much as you can, his damage output is undoubtedly good, and I myself is having a blast by using Chaos because it's also a pretty direct way to play the character, right? You just have to like get as much crime as you can by attacking. Once you get enough crime, you use your charge attack. Once you get your ult, you use your ult. You'll be automatically generating crime, and you constantly use his charge attack for the maximum amount of damage output. It's a really direct character that I think anyone can play, and you don't have to worry about it too much. One thing Chaos is able to do for NTE is also bringing charge into the limelight. Before Chaos's release, charge is something that is not exactly easy to trigger, but now that we have Chaos, which is a type of character that you have to stand on field and do a lot of damage for a while, just like Nanali is, it's like a pretty convenient thing to have that Lakshana character max the cycle gauge by standing on field. And once you max that cycle gauge with the Lakshana character in Chaos, you can instantly swap over to the Cosmos element MC. And with the MC, you can instantly max their cycle gauge, that's their entire shtick, to go right into any anima character, someone like Julian or Nanali, and that's instantly the charge effect done. You can continually spam that, which means the charge will continually regenerate ultimate energy. And with Chaos, you actually want as much ult as you can because during his ultimate, his damage output goes to a significantly higher level. The design idea behind Chaos makes sense, and the team that he's played in makes sense as well. And being able to consistently trigger a triple Esper element cycle thing, you know, in charge is pretty good. It's pretty fun. So in any case though, tier 0 for Chaos seems to make a lot of sense. Now to take a look at the rest of the characters, we have Chiz at A6. I personally haven't unlocked this, so I'm not able to like try her out myself, but I'm sure at A6 you should be pretty strong, right? Tier 0, let's just say that's true for now. Nothing much I could say because I haven't unlocked her yet at A6. Now to talk about Lacrimosa, honestly, there's nothing to talk about with Lacrimosa. She's way too strong right now. Easily the best character of the entire game. She's easy to use, especially with the long range version of her. I personally love to use that a lot if I just don't want to use my brain. Her evade attacks are also insanely good. She's good at parrying as well because of her constant instance of damage output, except for like the final hit of her sequence. But overall, she's just really easy to use. And the thing is, she hasn't even unlocked her full potential yet for a team. Right now, one of the best teams for Lacrimosa is just a simple hypercare team that buffs her attack as much as you can, and with the help of Adler to maximize the dot damage, which isn't exactly fully utilizing Lacrimosa's abilities yet. Of course, there's the Discord idea, the Discord team, but Discord as a whole isn't exactly incredible, at least at the current moment, because you do have to break the boss for that to like have good value. So I do think in the future Lacrimosa would get stronger, like her team's nowhere near completed fully. Not saying she's not usable now at all. She's already really strong, and I think in the future she's gonna get better with better better allies being released. Now to talk about Nanali, you do see the eye symbol, which means she's on a watch list. From the changelog, it seems that she's actually been moved to tier 0.5 at one point. But honestly though, I would say a fully invested Blossom team with Hattori, Nanali, the MC, and Zhuyuan, that team is still tier 0 worthy in my opinion. Would I say Nanali is stronger than Lacrimosa though? I personally don't think so. But the whole Blossom team archetype is considered complete with all the characters in the Blossom team having Blossom enhancement passives, and that actually helps out the Esper Cycle Blossom a bunch, which Esper Cycles are the heart and soul of the game. You do a lot of damage with Esper Cycle effects. Nanali is still really strong in my opinion, and she's still unique in the sense where she has that gather ability, which sometimes is just really good against AoE situations. In like the Ghost Train, some stages have those scenarios, and Nanali is the one that can help you out. I think tier 0 is fair, but there are better and better characters being released, and Nanali might be soon considered as an older character, and she might fall the top rank soon. But for now, I think it's fair to see her at tier 0 still. And as for the rest of tier 0, nothing much has changed. All the characters are the usual faces. I would say a couple ones that are getting better and better is DMC, still being used in a lot of endgame teams. The new Chaos does use DMC as well, which is awesome. Like, being able to just trigger charge so consistently is high value. Hattori's always going to be good, at least right now. Anil and Sakiri, two other characters that are the general buffers of the game, where Lacrimosa specifically is able to just use both of them to make like a really brain dead hyper carry team. Anil, Sakiri all buffing the one damage dealer in Lacrimosa, and she just goes crazy. Incredibly easy to use, so yep, easily tier 0. Next off in tier 0.5, we have an A3 plus Chiz, which I don't have her at A3 plus yet myself, so no comment on that. To move on to the hybrid, or like usually the sub DPS characters though, we see Zhuyuan and Hathor. I personally would want to put Zhuyuan a tier above, just because with the new Chaos team, Zhuyuan's use case still became higher. Chaos actually preferred Zhuyuan in his team as well for the charge, anima element, and Zhuyuan's gather ability is really strong for some like Chaos that sometimes might not be able to hit a lot of characters at once. Having that gather is pretty good. She does lack the supporting capabilities though to just maximize damage output for like the allies, but she is definitely insanely strong in a Blossom team as well. But for the fact that she's great and awesome in Blossom teams that's considered tier 0 currently, and that she's so versatile with the whole gathering mechanic being used in multiple different teams, or at least able to be used in multiple different teams. In the recent Chaos Charge team, for example, I think Zhuyuan deserves to be in tier 0 in my opinion, but I would say she's definitely not perfectly side to side at the level of say the MC and Hattori. The MC is the king or the queen of just being versatile. There's so many teams that can use them, and Hattori is really strong as a whole in general. Her own damage output incredibly high, so I would personally put Zhuyuan tier 0, but tier 0.5 is more than fair. Now Hathor is the one that also deserves some highlights here. Hathor is one of the best allies for Chaos because of the same Lakshana element and being able to buff the Remora effects, plus providing crit buff as well for Chaos. Hathor's own damage output is solid as well, but is Hathor at the level of tier 0 though? I personally don't think so yet. There's not really too many use cases for Hathor outside of like the Chaos or the Remora teams or the Charge teams, and Hathor herself does not have as much utility as say Zhuyuan does, but she certainly does have buffing capabilities to her damage dealer. So I'd say if Zhuyuan is considered tier 0.5 here, Hathor is easily here as well. No disagreements for me. Now coming down one more tier is tier 1, we do see a character being moved downwards with Bai Tang. First of all, if you just take a look at the game state, there's not really any incantation teams or incantation characters being released at all yet. There's been a release for Anima, Chaos, Lakshana, Cosmos element as well, but nothing for incantation, nothing for Psyche. So I would say Bai Tang's full potential is not really being polished yet by the game. There's not enough characters to polish him. But then again, there's also the expert tag where if you're good enough at playing Bai Tang perfectly, you still see him performing a tier above. But for the general public with general playstyles though, Bai Tang's not really the main focus in the meta, and I think we can all agree on that. So you see him a little bit low in the tier list. I personally think he's around this range, tier 0.5 to tier 1. You could go up and down based on how you play him, which I think is fair. Next off, another change we see is Daffodil, which comes as a shock to me, but I suppose she's in the same position as Bai Tang for a little bit. First of all, there's the expert tag. If you can play Daffodil perfectly against a boss that can get parried all the time, then Daffodil's value goes up for sure. But to start though, Daffodil helps out Discord, and Discord is not exactly like the best Esper cycle currently. We have to break the boss for Discord to work well, and the thing is, if the boss doesn't allow you to parry them, Daffodil just doesn't get to parry the boss, and sometimes that comes as like a really awkward situation. She certainly has her issues, but then again, I would say the whole Discord archetype is far from completion. In the future, there may be more Discord characters that could really utilize the whole breaking of the boss mechanic, get the Discord damage in, and then Daffodil Daffodil will suddenly be really strong again. But even now though, against certain bosses, Daffodil could parry them, and if they do, it's good. One day we'll see Lacrimosa doing well as well for the Discord enhancement that she has. We'll have to see. For now though, Daffodil for the general public, not at the level of tier 0.5, which I agree with, but if you play well against relevant enemies, that will change. Next up, Fadia. Currently though, the Psyche element character that most people are using to trigger anything at all is Haniel, and not just for the Psyche element, Haniel just has good general buffs anyway, which is something Fadia doesn't quite have. So seeing her at tier 1 doesn't really surprise me, and she's always been around here, I would say anyway. Next up is Adler. His best way of being used right now is to be used with Lacrimosa to buff her dot damage by a lot based on the amount of different dots there is, and that usually constitutes a pretty good and high value dot damage increase. But outside of that though, he does have good protection abilities as well with his shields. Not a bad character at all. I personally would actually rank him a rank above just for Lacrimosa maybe, but then I get it though. I would never say Adler is at the same value of like Juyu and Hathor, so tier 1 is certainly fair as well. But in the team of Lacrimosa though, with Adler, it's incredibly strong, and in the future, if there's more dot related characters, Adler may see some increase in value as well. To move on to tier 2 and to focus on the changes there is, we see Aurelia, which dropped a rank, which I will tell you as well. First of all, the Psyche element, not exactly supported that much yet by the recent releases. There's not a single new Psyche character. Plus, it's an A rank character, so it's not going to be expected to be that strong, I would say. And I'll also say it again, I've never used Aurelia myself, so I don't know for sure. If you're an Aurelia fan, you can let me know if this is like a mistake or if this is inaccurate. Maybe she's a tier higher. But then again, if Baitang and Daffodil is in tier 1, is Aurelia really at their level? Maybe if you play her perfectly, I guess. I'm not sure though. You can let me know if you know more about Aurelia. But for me, I do think the game doesn't really put a lot of focus on the A rank main damage dealers. A rank seems to more be supportive, right? The Adler, the Haniel. The main damage dealers from the A rank usually gets eclipsed by just the standard classical characters already. That's like S rank. And of course, there's a limited release as well that should dominate the meta. But that's pretty much it for the lower ranks. We have Vanguard here as well at last. Nothing much has changed, so nothing much to talk about. Well, overall though, I think the list is fair enough. And I would say it's really exciting to see what happens next. I think there might be two ways to see this. Number one is there might be more Psyche element characters or incantation element characters being released. And with Psyche element, that means it might help out the Discord as per cycle, and Daffodil might see a good rank up. Or if it's incantations released, then we might see a dot related team. Adler being able to help out the dot effects really well with Sakiri. Maybe there will be a dot character that's incantation being released in the future, and we might see Adler going up a rank even. Otherwise still, if you look at the game objectively, we already have the Chaos with the Lakshana teams, the Charge teams. We have the Cosmos teams in the Free Chiz, or the Cosmos element like Hattori and Zero, all of which will relate to the Anima Nanali for the Blossom teams. And we also have a full Lacrimosa that is still awaiting for a perfect team like in the future as well. Maybe it'll go in that direction too. The perfect Lacrimosa supposed to be released. That could be a thing. But regardless though, I think it's fair enough. I'm having good fun with the combat of the game right now. It's not boring. You can actually practice different teams, and there are a ton of different teams to play with. And well, as I said, with NTE, it's more like a slice of life type of game, if anything. You read a story, you go fish, maybe you go racing and rob a bank. And hey, that's just life, right? Well, I'll be covering everything NTE related in the future as well, so do drop a follow if you prefer. That'll be all for now. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and take care.